Hello and a very warm welcome to New Age Parenting. We've always maintained on this platform one of the most beautiful relationship one can experience is with one's child, because that's actually uncomplicated, that's completely pure and that's spiritual. But in today's time, a lot of couples are delaying the process because that's also understandable, that somewhere they want to have their own life, they really want to understand each other, they want to connect with themselves, and maybe professionally or otherwise circumstances are not allowing the child to come in. And the problem starts when they try, when they want the being to come, when they invite. Somewhere the health issue, somewhere the lifestyle issue is creating an obstacle and they're not having a baby. Infertility is a truth, is a reality of today's time. What are its causes and are there solutions? In the coming 4 episodes, we would be actually trying to explore. So time now for an open soul searching. In New Age Parenting today, we have the privilege to have Dr. Rishikesh Mai, who is a world-famous infertility expert and has 20 years of experience. He's a director with Leelapati Hospital IVF Center and also with Fortis Bloom IVF Group. A very warm welcome to the show, sir.
Hello, hi.
There are so many myths, so many thoughts a couple has. So we want to start with this. What kind of infertility rate right now exists in the world?
You know, if you look at it, if suppose 10 couples get married, then out of those 10, at the end of 1 year, nearly 8 or 9 will have a child if they actively try to have a baby, and one of the couples will not conceive. So the rate of infertility is overall around 10% in the world. If you really look at our country, we have got 300 to 400 million couples in the fertile age group of 18 to 40. And so if you apply the rate to them, nearly around 30 million couples are infertile in India.
Quite a big number.
Yeah, quite a lot.
Dr. Pai, if you look at it, it used to be considered natural. A couple will get married and then maybe a year or 2 later, they'll definitely go for a baby and it will be a natural process. There used to be really, few times when the intervention of doctor was required, even for the conception. What has changed? Because today, even parents and even the couples have become really circumspect.
I personally feel that a lot of couples are getting married at a later age. They are career oriented. They don't want to have kids. First comes career, then comes kid. I feel that we need to have things in parallel rather than in series.
Even in the age of 25, even earlier, the couples are not able, the women is not able to conceive. What are these problems? Is it somewhere related to our lifestyle?
Whole environment is contaminated at present. Higher toxic levels are there in the environment. For example, more of lead, mercury. Many electronic items. You can't destroy them. There's a lot of hormonal contamination of the livestock. Estrogens are there. Steroids are being fed to the. Also, all those things that they come into your food stuff, and that can also affect your fertilization potential. Fertility potential goes down. I've seen in my practice now a higher incidence of premature ovarian failure. Many people normally women have menopause at the age of between 40 and 50, but they are having menopause earlier. It's very surprising. So there are a lot of other factors, I think, which are at work as well.
What are the different ways, a person or a couple should try before the intervention of the technique or the medicine?
Yeah, so primarily, as I told you, that for 1 to 2 years, they can try naturally on their own. I would put in maybe 1 to 2 corollaries on this. Suppose you want to really postpone having a child, then maybe a mild, just some soft test. For example, if a man can just get his semen analysis done, if it is normal, he can say, okay, I can maybe postpone it for some time.
It's important then.
Yeah.
If the couple wants to delay it, they should get these tests.
At least they should get some minor things done, I feel. Because now we need to look at the preventive aspect of it. Suppose on a semen analysis, the count is very low. He might as well start trying for a child earlier. Similarly, in the woman, maybe say in a year's time, if they don't conceive, maybe just an ultrasound, just to see everything okay within. and maybe some few hormonal tests. Now a new test has come called AMH, anti-Mullerian hormone, which is reflective of the ovarian reserve of a woman. So if the AMH is between 2 and 4, so she's got a good reserve. So she can postpone getting a child. She can take 1-2 years more before she starts focusing on the child. So these are some mild tests which can help you preventively, and you can understand, okay, we both are okay overall, so we can still postpone having a child. If suppose these tests are abnormal, then they can have slightly more accelerated kind of therapy. And then of course, suppose everything is normal and now they don't want to do anything majorly interventional, then in those patients they can have what is known as planned relations. So normally a woman ovulates around 14th day of a menstrual cycle. If you calculate the cycle, first day of the period is known as the first day of the cycle. So from that time onwards, say around the 14th day is a time when she ovulates. So she can have planned relations on the 11th, say 12th, 14th, 16th, 18th day of the cycle, because that's the time when the egg is going to come out. If she wants
fertilization is possible.
Right, yeah.
And is there anything known as fertile food or fertility food?
Though there are certain things in literature, like if you have good whole toned milk and all products, or ice cream with very rich, it will help you. In our country, I've also seen slightly higher incidence of vitamin D deficiency now. And there are certain papers in the literature that have shown that if the vitamin D levels are low in the blood, if you supplement them, that can improve your fertility. So, maybe overall supplementation of iron, calcium, vitamins,
There is something which I wanted to talk, that when is it that a couple should understand that they have tried everything, whatever you suggested, and now, they feel they should understand the time for a medical intervention. What are those indications?
So basically, as I told you, if they don't achieve pregnancy within 1 to 2 years of marriage or trying to have children, because so many of them get married, but then they don't want to try. So that we don't calculate. From the time they are trying for it and they don't achieve, then a 1 year is good enough. Suppose many people say 2 years, some people say after the age of 35, 1 year. Before 35, maybe 2 years can be the limit, where you give nature a chance to. But during that time period, maybe some soft investigations, as I told you before, and some kind of planned relations, if they do and they still don't achieve pregnancy, then they should go for more detailed investigation.
Dr. Pai, in fact, it's really a very open soul searching, and we've really understood a lot of things which we were actually not aware, most of the people out there. Time for a short break, but we'll be back soon, and we would be talking about what are the different procedures which are available today to the common man. So stay tuned. Actually giving us a lot of inputs. Dr. Pai, what is the first process they should opt for?
Most of the time husband contributes to infertility in 50% of the cases, and husband is very easy to investigate. Just a simple semen analysis after 3 days of abstinence will give us a understanding as to whether there is a problem in the sperm count or motility or morphology. Morphology means the normal appearance of the sperm is called morphology. So if any of these parameters are abnormal, then we can say, okay, this is a male factor infertility. So first thing is to do a semen analysis, because it's very simple. If that is normal, then we look at the lady. So in that we do hormone analysis. So normally we would do thyroid hormone. Hypothyroid is a big problem. A prolactin level, because hyperprolactinemia is a major cause of infertility. And as I told you, nowadays we do this AMH hormone, anti-Mullerian hormone. This is a fantastic breakthrough in the field of infertility. Gives us immediate idea of what is her ovarian status, her ovarian reserve. Then of course we would do other routine investigations. In our country, the biggest problem is tuberculosis. It can affect all organs, and it can also affect the uterus and the tubes, and it's called genital tuberculosis. So you must do tests to rule out tuberculosis, and then of course a routine ultrasound examination to see whether there is any pathology. In uterus you may have fibroids, ovarian cysts, We have something called endometriosis. So, and in especially in the northern India, there is a huge prevalence of polycystic ovarian disease. So, ultrasound examination will immediately tell us whether there is any pathology, any abnormality in the woman. So, these are the basic tests which would do in the man and the woman, and then of course would do higher intervention. The next step we do is to find out whether the tubes are patent or not, the tubes are open or not, because for fertility you need an open tube, because the sperm and the egg fertilize and they fertilize in the tube, and then it comes into the uterus and the embryo implants in the uterus. So we need to know if there is any problem with the tube. So there are 3 tests that are available. One is by simple sonography. We can push a saline or a material and see whether the tubes are open or not by looking at the ultrasound. But it's not so prevalent in our country. In the Western countries, it's more prevalent. It's called sonosalpingography. The most prevalent test in our country is the hysterosalpingogram, where we push a dye and we take X-ray of the abdomen and the pelvis, and we can make out whether the tubes are open or not. And then the third, of course, if all this is done, then after that, normally if the tubes are open and there's no gross pathology, one would go for insemination. So we try 5 to 6 months of insemination, and if that fails, then we go for a laparoscopy. So if we do an HSG or an ultrasound, there's something grossly abnormal, we will go straight for laparoscopy. If the HSG or ultrasound and semen test, everything is overall normal, then we would try intrauterine insemination for 5 to 6 to 8 months, and if that fails, then we would go for a laparoscopy.
So what we need to understand is that both the parties can have problems, and it's actually, if both of them have problems, then both of them need intervention.
Right. So if the husband, yeah, right, you're right.
How much time these processes take place?
To just investigate a husband and a wife, it just takes 1-2 months time, Of course, I am a very more conservative doctor, and I don't do laparoscopy just at the drop of the hat. So I would go the standard way, do the routine investigations, do an X-ray of the womb, that's the HSG, hysterosalpingography, short form is HSG, do an ultrasound of the pelvis. If there's anything abnormal, immediately go for a laparoscopy. If everything is normal in all these findings, then try insemination for 6 months, and if that fails, then go for a laparoscopy.
And how about the emotional aspect, because we can be a big setback for the family as such, and on the other hand for a female also. So how does that emotional stability helps and of course affects once these results are out?
Emotion is a very important aspect of life, and definitely in infertility it plays a major role. For example, I've seen so many of my patients, they have had interventions, we have treated them, they have had the first child, and then on their own they have had the second child, because once they have the first child, their stress totally declines, they are focused with their first child, and so in that nice happy state of mind, they have naturally conceived the second child. Or they, many couples, they had to have a maybe a pet, and when they have a pet, they automatically, their stress level goes down and their yearning for a child goes down, and they defocus and they become pregnant spontaneously. So emotion is very important in our field, and in fact the new ICMR laws that are coming in, there's a compulsory counseling session that has to be done.
What kind of counseling is required for both of them? Because they have their own belief systems which are ongoing from the generations, and of course their fears, the way you were saying that if they've been trying and it is not happening, so both of them can be in that stress that we are not good enough. So what kind of counseling is required for these couples?
So we have professional counselors now, but overall we need to first of all tell them what is infertility, what are the steps, what they are going to go through. We need to tell them about the pregnancy rates. I feel that they are not properly counseled about the rate. So for example, that overall rate is 10%. If you do insemination, your pregnancy rate is going to be 15%. If you do an IVF cycle, your pregnancy rate is going to be 30-40%. So all those, because then they understand that they can't become, because many times I've seen that if the patients are improperly counseled, and if they don't become pregnant after say a treatment, they get very upset. Because I feel that in our field, there's a lot of talking rather than doing. Doing is of course important, but talking to the patient, I always tell all my juniors and my colleagues that it's very important to be patient with the couple, understand them. We pick up the phone even at night. I tell them that if there's a problem, send a SMS.
So communication actually plays
and of
a
course
major
it's
role.
stressful also. I think we doctors also need counseling. On and off
yes,
in
because
this
I
line.
think it can be very stressful for doctors.
Yes.
And now, last but not the least, which a big factor which really weighs heavily on couples' mind is the cost factor. How expensive all these interventions can be.
India is a fantastic country. We have got hospitals that are available where everything is freely available, and we have got corporate hospitals where you have the best of the world available, and then you have the middle hospital, the private hospitals. So we have got this three-pronged system: the municipal hospitals, the free hospitals, the middle private hospitals, and the corporates. All of them are providing service, and 80% of people can easily become pregnant by simple treatment. You don't need to undergo IVF. For example, I was telling you about laparoscopy. It is available in every government institute at present. So you can do it free of charge, or you can do it in a middle order institute where it may cost you 30,000-40,000. You may do in a corporate, it may cost you 70,000-80,000 rupees. So you have got a bouquet from which you can actually choose where you want to go based on your financial background.
Your own comfort level.
And in your own comfort level, right?
Yes.
So then, these are the different costs are there for different techniques which are there. Insemination is a simple technique. So as I told you, 80% of people will become pregnant with simple X-ray, then you do insemination and they'll become pregnant. So you don't need to go for even a laparoscopy. Then maybe 5% will need intervention in the form of laparoscopy. And maybe 10% of people who will not become pregnant with simple treatments need IVF.
How patient the doctor and the couple should be. And of course the family members.
Try for 2 years on your own. If with a little bit of help, after 1 year you can go to a doctor, do mild investigation like an AMH semen test, do planned relations. After 2 years you still don't become pregnant, do 1 or 2 years, find out whether tubes are open or not, do an HSG. If HSG shows normality, then try 3-4 IUI cycles, insemination cycles, and that fails, then you may think of doing a laparoscopy, and following that go for IVF. Or if there's an abnormality, go immediately for intervention,
yes.
a laparoscopy, correct whatever is wrong, then try 3-4 IUI cycles, and if that fails, then go for IVF.
So remain happy and remain comfortable. That's, I think, what you would like to tell all the couples out there, that there is a possibility, if you'll remain happy and comfortable and compatible, there is going to be a baby around. Thank you so much, Dr. Pai. You took out so much time and you were there in our studios. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
This was an eye-opener for all of us. Somewhere we had this belief system that IVF or other these kind of processes are not for the common man. But we need to understand that we have to take call at the right time, and we have to look for that spiritual intervention as well, because divine intervention is something which we all deserve. And IVF and technology may be one way of bringing that divine intervention, because there is coming a time when spirituality and science are going to get together. If you have any questions, if you have any query, if you feel that you are somewhere stuck in these processes, you are welcome. You can give us a call or you can mail us. So till the time we meet again, enjoy parenting.